Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we talk about 10 more horror movies that I highly recommend. And with that, let's get to the list.
Rewatching.
Weapons is a 2025 mystery horror movie, written, produced, and directed by Zach Cregger. It stars Josh Brolin, Julia Garner, and Alden Ehrenreich. When all but one child from the same class mysteriously vanish on the same night at the same time, a community is left questioning who or what is behind the disappearances.
This is a true story that happened right here in my town. A lot of people die in a lot of really weird ways in this story, but you're not going to find it in the news.
So this is directed by Zach Cregger, who also brought us Barbarian a couple years ago. And I really enjoyed that movie as well. It's a great little movie. But honestly, I think this is even better. And to be 2 for 2, but also to do something as creative and interesting as this is so impressive. But this one is completely different than Barbarian. So you can't go into this expecting to see like a sequel to Barbarian. This is definitely its own thing. This isn't a traditional slasher or a creature feature. It's more of a psychological pressure cooker with multiple storylines that unfold like pieces to a nightmare puzzle. And you can cut the tension with a knife. It keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire time. What's genius here is how every scene feels loaded, like someone or something is about to snap at any moment. And when the violence does hit, it's shocking and messy and completely earned. Because if you're a fan of horror that's bigger than the scares, the kind that sticks with you because it's saying something about violence, fear, and human nature, this one is essential viewing. But fair warning, this is not really a popcorn flick. It's a sit there and pay attention and process type of horror movie. But it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, especially because it has these tonal changes where it really catches you off guard and makes a big shift, especially in the final act, and that just may not work for you. But I just love this movie, and at this point, it's probably my number one for the year. So it's one that I think is a must to go and support in theaters, as well as just to see it with no distractions on the big screen. And make sure you go as soon as possible because there are some big spoilers in this movie, and it won't be long before those are out, and it'll completely ruin your experience with this film. But this is one of those rare films, and it's one that I highly recommend. Strange Harvest is a 2024 mockumentary horror movie. Directed by Stuart Ortiz, it stars Peter Zizzo and Andy Lauer. Detectives are thrust into a chilling hunt for Mr. Shiny, a sadistic serial killer from the past, whose return marks the beginning of a new wave of grotesque crimes tied to a dark ritual.
Authorities continue to urge the public to keep a watchful lookout for a serial killer who remains at large and is extremely dangerous.
You seen this?
God almighty, this movie is fucked up. This one is just deeply unsettling, and it actually got to me. It's one of those rare movies that I was uncomfortable in my seat many times. Strange Harvest is a mockumentary style movie that feels frighteningly real. The realism is just off the charts. Ortiz leans fully into the true crime aesthetic with talking head interviews, crime scene footage, and found clips that make the whole thing disturbingly real. It feels exactly like a Netflix true crime documentary. It blurs the lines between documentary and supernatural horror, and the crimes feel like they have otherworldly logic behind them, like not just a human motive, but they are super gory and truly disturbing. But the story twists and turns and really keeps you guessing the entire time. But it's a movie that you have to be into bleak, dark and disturbing film, because this is one I could really see disturbing a lot of people. It premiered on the festival circuit last year, but it opened up this past week to a limited theatrical release, so it may not be playing near you, but it is currently in theaters. So if you're into true crime and mockumentary found footage kind of movies, ones that make you question what is staged and what is real, then put Strange Harvest at the top of your watch list. Run! Ick is a 2024 sci-fi comedy horror movie. Directed by Joseph Kahn, it stars Brandon Roth, Melina Wiseman, and Mina Savari. A science teacher's life changes when he reconnects with his first love and suspects that a new student is his daughter, all while facing an alien threat in their town.
Okay, Grace, let's talk about the ick.
This one is so much fun. It's body horror and camp just mixed together perfectly. And it feels like it's torn from the same cloth as movies like The Faculty. It has really great makeup and effects that are disturbing and fantastic while also being really fun. And it really goes for it, especially in the final act. This movie goes bonkers. Now, this isn't a big budget movie though, so some of the CGI doesn't always hold up, but because of the campy tone, it doesn't really matter. And if anything, it adds to the charm. Just feels like a movie from the early 2000s or late 90s. And especially because you can really feel that this is a labor of love. But it does get gross and gory, but in the best way possible. And the cast do a great job in this, and the characters are well written and likable, so you really root for them. But it's not anything serious or anything to pick apart at all. It's just a fun popcorn Saturday night type of movie. But I think it's a blast and one that is an absolute must-see.
No one believes me. I believe you. What the hell?
Super 8 is a 2011 sci-fi thriller written and directed by J.J. Abrams. It stars Elle Fanning, Joel Courtney, and Ryan Lee. During the summer of 1979, a group of friends witness a train crash and investigate the subsequent unexplained events in their small town. This is a modern day cult classic in my opinion. It's like E.T., The Goonies, and Cloverfield all wrapped into one sci-fi monster mystery. It has that perfect small town nostalgia, but with teeth. Because the creature is creepy and the military cover-up adds paranoia. But the kid actors, as well as the script and the way that it's written, really makes you care. Because it definitely has that Stand By Me, It, Stephen King kind of feel about it as well. But if you missed this back in the day when it came out, or if it's been a long time since you've seen it, I think it's a perfect summertime watch.
Yes, hide and seek. Remember?
He wanted to get married.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Ready or Not is a 2019 dark comedy horror movie directed by Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette. It stars Samara Weaving, Adam Brody, and Mark O'Brien. A bride's wedding night takes a sinister turn when her eccentric new in-laws force her to take part in a terrifying game.
You're in here.
Jesus, you shot the maid.
Does she look like she's wearing a giant white wedding dress, Emily?
Ready or Not is just pure chaotic fun at its best. And Samara Weaving is just brilliant in this movie. It's probably my favorite role I've ever seen her in. It's bloody, hilarious, and mean-spirited as hell with wickedly clever dialogue. The kills are outrageous, the pacing is lightning fast, and the ending? Chef's kiss. Like, I did not see this ending coming at all. And the reason I wanted to add this one on the list this week is because they just wrapped filming on Ready or Not 2. It's set to be released in April of 2026, and I can't wait for it. So definitely mark your calendars down for that one. It's gonna be a blast. But if you want horror that makes you laugh and gasp in the same scene, then this one is definitely up your alley.
Animals don't get too hung up on reason. They just keep killing.
In a Violent Nature is a 2024 Canadian slasher horror movie. Written and directed by Chris Nash, it stars Ryan Barrett, Andrea Pavlovic, and Charlotte Cregan. It follows a mute killer who targets a group of teenagers in the Ontario wilderness, with the events largely observed from the killer's perspective. This is one of the most experimental and fascinating slasher horror movies in a long time. And even though I did have some problems with it, I still think it does so many things right, because it takes the Friday the 13th formula and then flips the perspective. So you see almost the entire movie from the killer's point of view. There's no frantic editing and pretty much no jump scares either. Just slow, methodical stalking through the woods. But that does get a bit daunting to sit through at times. But then, holy hell, does it rip into the kill scenes. They're up there for the most brutal and creative kills in a long time. They're so visceral and gory and absolutely fantastic. It also makes the kills feel more brutal because you're not watching a victim's panic. You're just watching the calm inevitability of a predator closing in for the kill. But it's savage and unsettling and absolutely not for everyone. Because like I said, it is a bit tedious at times. You have to be patient with it, and that just doesn't work for everyone. I am not gonna lie, I was bored at times in this movie, but I think the kills made up for that, at least for me personally, and so I still ended up enjoying it. But if you want a slasher that dares to be different and you enjoy experimental indie horror, then this is a definite must-see.
Now, the fun begins.
The Price We Pay is a 2022 horror movie. Directed by Ryuhei Kitamura, it stars Emil Hirsch, Steven Dorff, and Gigi Zimbardo. After a pawn shop robbery goes askew, two criminals take refuge at a remote farmhouse to try to let the heat die down, but instead find something much more menacing.
What is this place?
Let's see how deep this rabbit hole goes.
The Price We Pay is one of those that starts out as a crime thriller, but ends as a savagely brutal horror movie. It shifts tones dramatically, and that really throws you off and keeps you guessing. It's gory, intense, and makes you root for people you probably shouldn't. But it's not perfect either, which is why I think it's probably flying so under the radar. Because some of the script feels undercooked, and then some of the acting is definitely not the greatest. But I think it's still entertaining as hell, and it deserves way more attention than it's getting. But if you have yet to see this one, do yourself a favor and check it out. She-Wolf of London is a 1946 mystery horror movie. Directed by Gene Yarbrough, it stars June Lockhart and Dawn Porter. A young heiress finds evidence suggesting that at night she acts under the influence of a family curse and has begun committing ghastly murders in a nearby park.
What is it, Carol? A small boy was killed last night in the park near Denham Lane. It seems that the body of the child was horribly mangled.
This one's a real classic and an absolute gem. It's a black and white gothic mystery that's just dripping in atmosphere. And it's less about the full moon and monster mayhem, and more about paranoia, superstition, and gaslighting. But if you're into universal monsters and old school suspense, it's a fascinating watch. It's just so damn moody and beautiful in just the style that it's made with. And it's a reminder of where horror comes from, the roots. I think it's important to see the classics to fully appreciate where the genre has come from. I just think it's a real treasure and one you absolutely should check out.
Watch this.
Sketch is a 2024 fantasy comedy horror movie, written and directed by Seth Worley. It stars Tony Hale, Darcy Carden, and Bianca Bell. When a young girl's sketchbook falls into a mysterious pond, her drawings come to life. So her small town descends into chaos, and her family must reunite and stop the monsters they never meant to unleash.
I found this place in the woods. We dropped Amber's notebook in it. And now I'm worried that Amber's drawings might be.
Sketch is a high concept indie entryway kind of horror movie. Think along the lines of Goonies or The Gate. It's just one of those that is PG, so it's not too wild or savage, but it still has enough dark edges to it, and it still feels horror-ish. And I'm not saying that this one is quite as dark as those, but it still has its moments. It's part supernatural mystery and part psychological drama. And the art sequences are just stunning in this, because the writer-director Seth Worley is also a special effects guy, so he really worked with a lot of the special effects in this and very much knew exactly what he wanted to see happen. He was recently on Corridor Crew on YouTube, and I highly recommend checking it out, especially if you're going to go see this movie, because it's really cool to see his insight and his passion and what this movie means to him, as well as his whole story on how this came to be in the first place.
Spiders.
Are these the spiders?
They are. So these were in the short. If you've seen the short or any clips from the short, they're from the short. These are my favorite. These are also heavily inspired by, in the 90s, Taco Bell did these monster eye straws every Halloween that were crazy straws with these eyeballs in them. And they were what I used to make my first movie in 6th grade called Eyes: The Invasion.
I remember these.
Yes, I loved these things, I still do.
And it's really a labor of love. Like I said, when you saw him on Corridor Crew, you could see that. But it took him many years to get this off the ground and to make it happen. But the real reason to see this is the heart. The characters are so lovable and entertaining. And these kids are actually funny, like genuinely funny, like not just to other kids, but to an adult. I mean, there are really funny moments in this movie. Just their delivery and setup, it's really well done. But this is one really for the whole family. Like I said, it's a perfect gateway kind of movie, and one I think you'll definitely have a blast with. Werewolf by Night is a 2022 action horror thriller directed by Michael Giacchino and based on the Marvel comic of the same name. It stars Gail Garcia Barnell, Laura Donnelly, and Harriet Sampson Harris. The plot follows a lycanthrope superhero who fights evil using the abilities given to him by a curse brought on by his bloodline.
But one of you is a monster, masquerading as one of our own.
Werewolf by Night is Marvel's Halloween special, but it feels like a lost Universal classic. It's shot in this gorgeous black and white that really looks amazing and adds so much to the way it feels. It's campy and stylish and action-packed. It's packed with special effects, and there are some great practical effects they use, and the CG is well done and doesn't take you out of it either. And it just feels like a love letter to those 1930s monster movies. But this is one that unfortunately really has flown under the radar. I just really wish they made it into a series or made a sequel to it or something, because it just feels like there was this setup to something that we just never ended up getting. And that's a bummer, because I love this. I think it's beautiful. I really enjoyed every bit of it. And I love the idea of this horror meets superhero element coming together, especially in this classic universe way. But still, it's an hour-long, super tight, entertaining ride, and one that I think is perfect for this Saturday night. So do yourself a favor this weekend, pick one of the movies off of this list, grab your popcorn and your candy, and enjoy! But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button, and remember guys, horror can be fun. And I'll see you all next time.